If there is any tension on the face, on your shoulders, on your back, feel it relaxing. Release the tension. Oh. 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 Sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः चार्थेष्वभिज्ञं स्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमय यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विष्णोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रय विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातराजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुः तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Hari Om. I will, Bala, you just download it any case. I will just, in the meanwhile, present the...
I have downloaded, Aarti.
You have, so then you can...
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to share now or do we start with...
Yeah. So last, just to summarize where we were, last week we were looking at how, we were looking at how Narada, sage Narada comes and he talks to Vedavyasa and he convinces him. He tells so many different things. He tells his own story, how he became a bhakta from his previous kalpa, and his mother passed away. And even in that, he, he felt at that moment that it was Narayana's grace for him and his signal for him to move on, to get detached from the world and to completely devote his life to Narayana. And this is how he tells Vedavyasa. He tells him why you have written so many things, but in all of that, there is a lot of analysis. There is a lot of, you have focused a lot on dharma, and the devotion part has not been addressed enough. And that is the one thing that can help people in this Kali Yuga, especially to bring that bhava of bhakti within them in itself, and namasmarana itself can help the people. And he says this and he leaves. And now Vedavyasa contemplates on what he says, and he sits and he meditates, and he the words flow out for him. He thinks of all the things that have happened through the kalpas. He thinks of how the whole creation happened. When he's not thinking, it's all coming into his mind. It's all playing in his mind. And after all that comes up in his mind, he starts writing the Srimad Bhagavatam. And after writing the Srimad Bhagavatam, he passes on and teaches this to his own son, who is Shukha Muni. Now, why did he teach this to his son? I am just going to, Tejomaya Nandaji has very beautifully described why he taught this to his son. Did he teach it because he is his son, or was there any other special reason? I'll just bring up that page. So, see, after Vedavyasa completed writing his Srimad Bhagavatam, I'll just read it as it is, so then we will get an idea. Vyasaji began contemplating on who would be the best student to receive the scripture that contains the most succulent juices of devotion and wisdom. He decided that Shukadevaji was the most qualified student, not because Shukadevaji was his son, but because he was truly the fittest student. Vyasaji said that only the one who has no selfish desire, let us listen to this very carefully. Vyasaji said that only the one who has no selfish desire, no sense of I-ness or minus, and no other vices can taste and relish the sweetness of this scripture to the fullest. No one. If somebody had that selfish desire or I-ness or minus, they will not be able to taste and relish the sweetness of the scripture completely. And to be able to relish its beauty, I must go beyond my ego. Okay. And who was that person who was like that? It was Shukadevaji. Shaunaka Rishi. Remember in the Naimisharanya, Shaunaka is asking, the whole thing is being narrated by Suta Muni to Shaunaka. The story of Narada, the story of how Vedavyasa wrote it. In Naimisharanya, the first chapter we had seen. So now Shaunaka Rishi asked Sutaji, but Maharaja, Shukadevaji was already reveling in Brahman. He was already Brahman himself. Then why did he have to listen to the Katha? Why did he sit to hear the Leelas of the Lord? And at that time, Suta Muni says, reveling in the name of the Lord, even one who already knows Brahman, even he loves to revel in that devotion by listening to the name of the Lord again and again. So coming to this point of Shukadevaji is already reveling in Brahman. So what is the story of Shukadeva? He is the son of Vedavyasa. How did he come to be the son of Vedavyasa? How did he become someone who was a realized being, who had realized Brahman already? So we will first, today I thought I will tell you the story of Shukadeva, the son of Vedavyasa, and how he was a Brahmagyani, even at such a young age, that his father found him fit to tell the Bhagavatam. So this story is not in the Bhagavata Purana, it is there in the Padma Purana. The story is going to be told from the Padma Purana, the story of Shukadeva. So the story goes like this. Narada Muni once goes to Kailasha to meet Lord Shiva and Mata Parvati. And when he goes there, Lord Shiva, as always, is doing his penance. So Narada is not able to talk to him. So he talks to Mata Parvati. And he asks Mata Parvati, is everything all right in Kailasha? How is everything going? Mata Parvati is saying, everything is beautiful, full of love. We are all living peacefully and happily. Nothing could be better. You know, like my Vahana, the lion, is friendly with Lord Shiva's Vahana, the bull. Kartikeya's Vahana, peacock, loves Shiva, Lord Shiva's snake and Ganesha's mouse. They are supposed to be enemies, right? So even there is love among all of these. So there is nothing more to ask. Everything is going so beautifully, and we are all living in a loving way. Now, Narada Muni is always one that, creates that confusion, but that out of that confusion, there is some good that comes out at always. So he says, so you and Lord Shiva are a very loving couple, right? And he says, yeah. She says, yes, we are very. So there are no secrets between you both at all. And then he says, yeah, there are no secrets. Mata Parvati says, there are no secrets between us. Then he says, do you know why Lord Shiva is wearing that mala of so many skulls on his neck? Why does he wear that mala of skulls on his head? And now Mata Parvati is like, oh, I don't know. And Narada says, but you told me there are no secrets between you both and you don't know this. He says this and he quietly leaves from there and goes away. Now this is working on Mata Parvati's mind. Why is he wearing that skull and why is it that I don't know about this? So she goes and then she waits till Lord Shiva has finished his tapas, and then the moment he opens his eyes, she says, why are you wearing this mala on you have never told me why you wear this mala of skulls on your neck. And Lord Shiva says, you have never asked me. If you had asked me, I would have told it before. But since you asked me, I will tell you. This mala of skulls is you. Every skull is you. Every time you are destroyed, I do not want to be. So in every life of yours, you have wanted to be married to me. So, and when your life has ended, I have missed you very badly, and hence I have taken your skull and made it into a mala. So the number of times you have, met your end, and I have taken the skulls, and that is why this whole skull mala is there. So now Mata Parvati says, then why is it that I am destroyed and created, but you are always constant? Okay, so this actually very subtly through the story, they're bringing out the concept of the Purusha and the Prakriti. The Purusha is always there, and the Prakriti or the creation goes through a cycle of life and death. Okay, that concept is very beautifully brought out through this story. Only the creation goes through the concept of life and death, and this creation is with the Purusha at all times and comes out of him and goes back into him. So now she says, why is it that only I go through this life and death and you don't go through it? And he says, that is because I have the secret of Amaratva. I know how to be Amara. So then she says, but you have a secret and you never told me the secret. You never shared the secret of Amaratva with me. So then Lord Shiva says, no, okay, now that you're asking me, I will tell you the secret of Amaratva. But there are two conditions. One is that there should be nobody else around when I am telling you this Amaratva, the secret of Amaratva. There should be no one else around. And the second condition is that I will close my eyes and I will be telling. And when I am telling, you should listen attentively and keep saying, And when you keep saying, I know that you are being attentive. So as long as I hear you saying, I will continue. And then if I do not hear you saying, then I will stop and I will never ever give you the secret of the Amaratva. So now Mata Parvati agrees to this. And now Lord Shiva, he shakes his damaru. And the moment he shakes his damaru, all the creatures around just fly away, run away, go away, and there is no other creatures around. And only Lord Shiva and Mata Parvati are there. There was also on a tree a parrot, and that parrot also flew away from its nest and it goes away. But in that nest, there was an egg. Okay. And exactly when Lord Shiva starts telling the secret to Mata Parvati, that egg crackles and that baby parrot comes out of that egg. And now that baby parrot has not flown away, and that is the only other creature that is there, and that also starts listening. And as Lord Shiva tells this story, tells the secret of the Amaratva, Mata Parvati is saying, and like parrots are very good at miming the voice, the parrot also starts saying, After a while now, Mata Parvati becomes drowsy and she dozes off. And she stops saying, But now that parrot is telling, And now when that parrot tells, so Lord Shiva is continuing to tell the secret of Amaratva. And once he is finished, he opens his eyes and says, now did you get it? And then suddenly Mata Parvati, she opens up and said, what next? What next? So he says, oh, so you did not listen to the secret this whole time? She says, sorry, I dozed off. He said, but there was somebody who was saying constantly, which means there was somebody else other than you who was here. And then he notices that there was this parrot in the nest. And he becomes angry and he chases this parrot. And the parrot starts flying. And this parrot goes over the ashram of Lord Sage Vedavyasa. At that time, Sage Vedavyasa's wife Vartika, she walks out of the hut and she yawns. And when she yawns, that parrot goes into Vartika's womb, that through the mouth, and it goes and hides there. And Lord Shiva comes there, and Vedavyasa says, "Why are you here?" Lord Shiva says, "I have come to destroy this." Because he listened to this parrot, because he's listened to the secret of Amaratva. And Vedavyasa said, now you are telling, you have told the secret of Amaratva, which means this parrot is, is Brahman himself right now. So you can't kill him anyway. So now Lord Shiva goes away. And this parrot grows in the womb of the Vartika, and is there in the womb of the mother for 12 years, refusing to come out of the womb. And the mother is in a lot of discomfort and difficulty and pain. And Vedavyasa says, please come out now, enough. But that baby in the womb says, no, I won't come out, because the moment I come out, I will be caught in this Maya. The Vishnu Prana. So when it is said that when you come out of your mother's womb, this whole, the Vishnu Prana hits you, and all the memories of the past and everything goes into an implicit memory. You don't remember them anymore, and you start living the life. So he says, and that is the Maya covering you, in fact. So he says the whole thing will be gone. All the knowledge that I have gained, I will forget it. So I don't want to come out the moment this Vishnu Prana hits me. So he says, unless Lord Narayana himself comes and blesses me and says that I will be retaining all that knowledge, I will not come out. So then Vedavyasa ji does a lot of, Sage Vedavyasa does tapas, and he invokes Lord Narayana, and Lord Narayana says, you will have the Brahma Jnana even after your birth. And that is how then this baby is born. And because the Shukha means parrot, and because it was the parrot which is born as this boy, he is called Shukha Muni. So this is the story of Shukha Muni, and why he has already got Brahma Jnana, and why Vedavyasa chose to tell the story to Shukha Muni, so that he can then pass on that knowledge to other people.
Yes, that was a nice story. So just like what Aarti mentioned, so Sutta Muni, Sutaji, he asks, right, why Shukha Muni was anyway a Brahmajnani, why he needs to know the Katha. So Sutaji said, what can one do? The Lord's attributes are such that they enchant even the knower of Brahman. It is so enchanting. So we will also get into the Lord stories. Okay. So as we continue, now we are starting. This is the beginning. Yeah.
This was such an awesome story.
Yes.
Something that we have not heard of, and very nice, beautiful.
Very true, very true. Lot of things. It's in Padma Purana. There are many things about Shukamuni there. Yeah. So do we start? Continue to read? Or anyone else would like to share anything? Okay. Aarti is not there.
I'm
not
back.
able to see her. You're there? Okay.
You can start reading, Bala.
Okay.
So now, just to give the context, now the story of the Bhagavatam is starting. He's telling the story of the Bhagavatam to Sukhamuni. Yeah.
The background is getting set. Okay. It was the last day of the great war on the field of Kurukshetra. The sun had set long ago. Near Samanta Panchaka lay the Kaurava monarch, Duryodhana, with his thigh broken by Bhima. He was dying, and to his presence came Ashwathama, the son of Drona. His anger knew no bounds when he saw how unjustly the king had been hit. King here is referred, Duryodhana is being referred as king here. Ashwathama took an oath that he would avenge the killing of his king by destroying all the Pandavas. The entire Kaurava army had been annihilated. Only 3 were alive, barring the dying king. They were Kripacharya, Kritavarma, and the son of Hardika, Kritavarma, the son of Hardika, and Ashwathama, 3 of them. That night, when everyone was asleep, Ashwathama hurried to the Pandava camp. He did not find the Pandavas, but their 5 sons were there sleeping. Drishtadhyumna and his brothers were in the camp too. The angry Brahmin killed all of them, the 5 sons of Draupadi and all her brothers. He then set fire to the camp and went away. The king, when he was told about it, was not happy. The act of his friend was too terrible, even for Duryodhana. Yeah. Early in the morning, the news reached the Pandavas. Draupadi was horror-stricken. In one night, she had lost her sons and her brothers. She saw their dead forms, and her voice was harsh with pain as she lamented their death. Seeing her tear-stained face and anguished eyes, Arjuna tried to comfort her. He said, "My queen, you will not weep for long. I will avenge the death of the children. I will bring the head of that sinner and lay it at your feet. He will not be able to escape me and the arrows from my dread Gandiva. I will seek him out and kill him." Arjuna hurried to his chariot, and Krishna was once again his charioteer. They saw Ashwathama running fast to escape from Arjuna. Seeing the angry cloud on Arjuna's brow, the son of Drona tried to run as fast as he could. But Arjuna was like an avenging fury, and Ashwathama could do nothing. His horses were not fast enough to carry him away from the spot. In despair, he thought of saving his life by using the great Astra, Brahmashirsha. He touched water, and after invoking the Astra, he spoke the words, "Let the world be Pandava-less," and sent it towards Arjuna. The skies were filled with glow and heat of the Astra. A fear came over Arjuna, and he said, "Krishna, Krishna, what is happening? Why is my frame burning so? I feel that a dreadful fire is traveling towards me, and I do not know what it is, nor can I find a way of escaping its fury. Tell me, what should I do?" So, such a action-packed beginning of Bhagavata background. Many questions come to our mind. So we thought we will dwell on something, this Ashwathama, son of, we all know, Dronacharya, right? Look at the anger. Oh my God. In one night, he has completely destroyed they saw Shishu Hatya, right? The children of, they were not even 18, the Draupadi and Drishtadhyumna, all of them, in such an adharmic way. It was all out of that anger. There's absolutely no dharma in the way he has done. So, and now he is very scared and he is actually kind of, completely destroyed himself, right? That is how we see. Now, maybe, we can just stop here a little, dwell on this, all of us. Ashwathama is the son of Guru Dronacharya, right? So Guru Dronacharya is the one who has brought him up. So if you have any thoughts on, what has been, if you think the role of Dronacharya here for Ashwathama getting into this adharmic way, you're welcome to write it in the chat box. Dronacharya's influence or Dronacharya's role in Ashwathama being like this as a parent. Either you can unmute and talk, or Dronacharya is known for his dharmic, he is the Acharya of the complete Kuru dynasty. And his son Ashwathama is resorting to such an adharma.
Why did his son turn out to be such an adharmic? Yeah, Anuradha, please.
No, I just wanted to say, I think probably Dronacharya's only weakness was his son. I think otherwise he was such a great warrior and such a great rishi. But his only weakness.
Yeah.
And I think Krishna was one who could just identify all these things and win the wars and Pandavas, right? So when you actually look at Mahabharata, Dronacharya was such a great person, but his son was his weakness.
Yes.
Shilpa ji also had raised her hand.
Yes, Aarti ma'am. That is what madam told. Because of Mamakara he had towards his son. Mainly that Mamakara only. Otherwise he was all very much dharmic towards everything. He taught all good shastras and that Dhanurvidya, everything what he taught to this Kauravas and Pandavas, equally to his son also. But that kind Mamakara, like how Dhritarashtra had towards Duryodhana, that thing only I feel.
Also, there's a comment saying Dronacharya also took his Shishya's thumb. So somewhere he wasn't actually dharmic in his conduct is one of the things in the chat.
Yes.
Diva.
Ma'am, would it be possible that Ashwathama felt his father, that is Dronacharya's death also was through a cheating method, because they had actually killed the elephant Ashwathama and made such a scene that Dronacharya was forced to believe it was his son. So probably a motion of revenge. Then Kauravas also were, again, Duryodhana also was killed in such a way because his thighs were covered, but then Gandhari opened her eyes, and that was only weakness. So the weakness was told to Pandavas, and would that be possible that all that anger inside brought him out?
Yeah.
To avenge it?
Definitely, yes. Anger has come out as adharma. That is the problem.
Now, when they say when
to
you
go
are
and
angry,
light a fire at night was another level of
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
According to war history, you're not supposed to fight after sunset, and he did it.
They were sleeping.
Yeah.
He's jealous of Arjuna as his father likes Arjuna more than him.
Yes.
Yeah. Jealousy, yes. Anger, jealousy, pent up anger, jealousy.
I think even his father somewhere became that Rajasic, right? When he became angry with Drupada. And then said, I will get half the kingdom and give it to my son somewhere. So
true, man. Somewhere that selfishness might pop up probably.
Because it is so, so we keep thinking about something and then I get attached to that. Sangha jayate kamaha. So moment there is attachment, now I desire to get that again and again and again. And if I don't get that, I get, upset. I get angry. So kama Sanga jayate kamaha, kamat krodho bijayate. So kama leads to krodha, anger. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. The moment there is anger, absolutely I'm not able to see clearly what is the reality. Okay, it becomes deluded, moha. Mohat bhavati, moha bhavati. No, dhyayato vishyam pumsahas.
Sammoha smriti vibhramaha.
Brahmaha. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. The moment there is delusion, what happens? Even the memory gets confused. There is no right thing that I'm taking in. So whatever is getting stored is also, my own, some deluded thoughts. And in that whole thing, it gets confused. Smriti Brahmshat Buddhi Nashat. Now, Buddhi is not going to work. Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati. The moment the clear Buddhi is not there, as a human being, I fail. That is the time I fail actually. I'm thinking I fail because I'm not able to achieve anything. But I fail when my Buddhi is not good enough to guide me in the dharmic path. It's a very beautiful shloka. I don't know, chapter 2 point something. I can put that in the group. Check it.
2.62 dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. 2.63 is krodhat bhavati sammoha.
Okay, 2.62 and
63.
2.6 for Meera who has asked. Yeah. Shall we continue? Anybody else would like to? Or Aarti, you want to add?
Chapter name Sankhya Yoga. If you want.
No, I think it's beautiful. Because of all his, how our parenting is. Also, the intention with which we raise our children, the attachment also influences the children. Of course, there is a part of nurture and nature. His nature was also somewhere, there was that part also, but his intention, and instead of correcting him, he also went with it, the father, because of his attachment.
Yeah.
And that is where...
he says, no, Bhagwan is telling when he ate that rice flour mix as milk, you could have, put in that contentment in him. But you made, you put that anger in him that we don't have enough, you need to get more, Drupada, whatever anger.
I will make you the king of
Panchala.
Panchala and all that. So he put that greed in the mind of the child, and he also received that.
Yeah, I think whatever I have in my mind, I put it in the world.
Yes.
That's what we also. Okay. Aarti, would you like to read? Aarti, would you like to continue reading? Aarti, would you like to continue reading?
Okay. I'll just start from early in the morning. So now, early in the morning, the news reached the Pandavas. Draupadi was horror-stricken. In one night, she had lost her sons and her brothers. She saw their dead forms, and her voice was harsh with pain as she lamented their death. Seeing her tear-stained face and anguished eyes, Arjuna tried to comfort her. He said, "My queen, you will not weep for long. I will avenge the death of the children. I will bring the head of that sinner and lay it at your feet. He will not be able to escape me and the arrows from my dreaded Gandiva. I will seek him out and kill him." Arjuna hurried to his chariot, and Krishna was once again his charioteer. They saw Ashwatthama running fast to escape from Arjuna. Seeing the angry cloud on Arjuna's brow, the son of Drona tried to run as fast as he could. But Arjuna was like an avenging fury, and Ashwatthama could not do anything. His horses were not fast enough to carry him away from that spot. In despair, he thought of saving his life by using the great Astra Brahmashirsha. He touched water, and after invoking the Astra, he spoke the words, "Let the world be Pandava-less," and sent it towards Arjuna. The skies were filled with the glow and heat of the Astra. A fear came over Arjuna and he said, "Krishna, Krishna, what is happening? Why is my frame burning so? I feel that a dreadful fire is traveling towards me and I do not know what it is, nor can I find a way of escaping its fury. Tell me what I should do." With a grim look, Krishna said, "Arjuna, the son of your guru has thought fit to hurl the great Brahmastra Brahmashirsha at you. Do not look horrified. I know that Drona has told you how terrible it is, and I dare say he has told the same to his son also. But Ashwatthama evidently has no thought of the consequences of this dastardly action. Apparently, he desires to destroy the entire world. Make up your mind soon, Arjuna, and invoke the same Astra. This is the only way you can quench the fury of this approaching fire." Arjuna saluted the presiding deity of the Astra and invoked it. When the two fires were traveling towards each other, it seemed like the end of the world had come. The rishis from the heavens hurried towards the spot and they said, "Withdraw the Astra, both of you, or else the world will be destroyed. The two fires should not meet. Hurry and avert the calamity." Arjuna obeyed them immediately and withdrew his Astra. But Ashwatthama could not. When he learned the invocation from his father, he had been warned about the dreadful power of the Astra. Not bothering to remember the warning, he had sent it against Arjuna. The sins he had committed now had robbed him of his purity and hence his Brahmanic tejas, and he was now powerless against his own Astra. He could not revoke it. And because now he was scared that it would consume him, he now aimed it at all the unborn children of the Pandavas and thus thought of making the world Pandava-less. After withdrawing the Astra, Arjuna rushed towards Ashwatthama. Tying him up with a rope, Arjuna dragged him like a cow meant for sacrifice. Krishna's eyes were spitting fire. He said, "Arjuna, this is the man who had committed the gravest of sins, killing of children while they were sleeping. It is not right that you should have mercy on him. You must kill him without a qualm. I do not have to remind you of the rules of fighting. A man well versed in them will not kill an enemy who is drunk, who is careless about his safety, who has lost his wits, who is not trying to fight back, who is sleeping, who has fallen at your feet asking for mercy, who is defeated and who is frightened. But this sinner who saves himself by killing ruthlessly thousands of other lives must be punished only by death." And again, "Arjuna, have you forgotten your promise so soon? I was listening when you told Draupadi, 'I will lay at your feet the head of that man who killed your son.' You swore to do it. Why do you delay? Kill this man." Arjuna would not do so. In spite of the great provocation, he remembered that Ashwatthama was his playmate of old, that he was the son of his guru. Drona had loved Arjuna even more than he loved Ashwatthama. Arjuna was unwilling to kill the son of his guru, who was like a brother to him. He took him to the presence of Draupadi and the other Pandavas. He said, "Look, my queen, look on this sinner who is standing before you. His eyes are bent on the ground since he dare not look you in the face. Tell me what I should do with him and I will do it." This is a beautiful stanza. Draupadi's grief at the loss of her children would ever be fresh in her mind. Also, the fact that Ashwatthama killed them. But her anger had abated. She was overcome with compassion for him. And she said, "Arjuna, please release him at once from these coils. I cannot bear to see the son of your guru bound like this. Drona was the guru who taught you archery and his son is a brother to you. That pious woman, Kripi, has not joined her lord on the funeral pyre because her son is alive. If you kill him now, she will suffer the pain of losing her only child. I do not want her to suffer like me. Let him go his way. Please release Ashwatthama." just the whole sequence of events. There is anger. He has caught Ashwatthama. Even Krishna is telling him it is not adharmic to kill somebody who has actually killed the people who are sleeping. It is the greatest sin somebody can do. So you will not be on the side of adharma if you kill such a person, because this will be considered a dharmic action. So go ahead and do it, Krishna is saying. And in spite of that, that is that sattvic, we had seen sattvic, rajasic and tamasic nature. It's that sattvic nature which is prevailing there and saying, I will not take over. I will not kill. He's like my brother. He is like my guru's son. Just, that whole talk of when I have a desire and then anger comes in, and with anger comes attachment. I have anger, but the moment I can pause, in that anger, there was no delusion. The clarity that he was still his guru's son came, not just his son's killer, but his guru's, that was Arjuna. And then Draupadi, the mother. Right, Bala, you want to say?
Yeah. No, it is so beautiful. And for a mother to even look at it that way, someone who has killed barbarically her own sons, it is not even in the war, right? It was a barbaric act. And look at the compassion she has. And I used to wonder when I was very young and all, how come, they all are called Panchamahakanya, right? Draupadi, Ahalya, Sita Mata, and even Tara, I think, comes there, and one more I'm not remembering. Okay, all of them.
Radha.
Who's one? Who? One more?
Radha only, you said Dhara.
Mandodari.
Mandodari.
If we look at all of them, they all have had so much of trying trials, whatever, to the extreme, actually unimaginable. Now we know this story, we also take a lot of things for granted. We've heard this so many times, but if we really think through the depth of suffering, each one, endurance that they have shown, and they have always stood by the dharma of their husband. They have been real dharma patnis there. I think that is something, which it's a quality which really, I think I wouldn't say every woman, but because it is here Panchama Kanya, just saying for everyone to take that, endurance is something that brings that, that is one of the basic qualities in Vedanta also, for someone to realize that Brahmajnana, that titiksha we say, that endurance is there, that endurance itself beats us, and brings us to shape and give that Brahmajnana. That is how even Draupadi is able to use her buddhi there. She's saying, I am in this grief, and how much she's able to feel if Kripi, Ashwatthama's mother, if she has to, I don't want her to go through the grief that I am going through right now. True compassion coming up there, right? Like completely selfless. So this is very touching, actually.
And it's such a contrast from what we see in Ashwatthama, who went out in such a revenge for all the wrongs that happened. In spite of all the wrongs that happened, you can justify even there, right? There were so many things that went wrong. But in spite, he was completely deluded in his anger. And he decided to kill even the nihattas, or the unweaponed people in their sleep. And, that's, and then here on the other side, immediately we are seeing the other contrast of, of a mother who is so distraught, but at that point in time, connecting with the grief the same grief that might be caused to the other mother. And hence feeling that compassion, to feel that compassion at that point in time is really beautiful here.
Yeah, truly selfless, like what Krishna was saying, right? When the kama is a selfish desire, then it leads to krodha and moha and buddhinasha. But here, that krodha, yes, it came because they've lost their son. at the same time, they are rooted in dharma, right? So automatically that selfishness goes away. There is no selfishness at all there. It is completely for the, that selfless thing immediately gets them back to the dharmic. Very, very beautiful.
With the sattvic nature, when compassion is my being, it is every situation is, there is anger. The rasa will be there. The feeling will be there. But how do I act on it? If I am a rajasic person, if I am a sattvic person, that moment of pause comes with a sattvic person, and that moment of pause does not come with a rajasic person, and hence there is that delusion through that anger completely.
Yeah. One more thing I was reflecting here before, the astra that Ashwathama sends, okay, he has no control over, where was it? After withdrawing,
Up.
a little more up, right?
No, down, no. When he's leaving it or when he couldn't withdraw it?
He is not able to withdraw, right?
No,
He
go
doesn't
down,
know.
go down. Yes, up there only. I saw it there. Withdraw.
See, Ashwathama could not. Okay. So he doesn't have that. It is not that he doesn't have the knowledge of how, the warnings was given by Dronacharya. But in spite of it, Ashwathama did not have that. So even without knowing, having absolutely no control over what he is letting out, he has let out the true tamasic act. So I was relating this to the astra that we all use daily, right? The tongue. Yeah, it just words come out, a tamasic, instinctive, completely driven by my own kama, krodha. Words come out and it is gone. Even if I want to, it is gone. It has hurt people, overdone, and it has hurt me also. But even if I want, I am in the same state of Ashwathama, right? He could not, so I cannot take back. So that is where that was something I was connecting to. Very
very nice. Tongue as our astra.
In a tamasic way, if I use the tongue as an astra, this is what happens. Tamas or rajas, whatever I do.
We can close the session, I think.
Yes.
Oh, no?
Yeah, it's time.
Anything anybody has to share before we? Okay. Oh. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om. May we move from ignorance to knowledge. May we move from untruth to truth, and from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bad bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
Yes, Titiksha, we will
Thank
talk
you.
about it next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.